Here's a question we got from people on YouTube. If someone has between $1,000 and $10,000 today to invest, they can spend on whatever they want.
Yeah.
And they had to turn it into $100,000 within 3 years.
Oh, okay.
What steps should they take? And obviously this is not a guarantee, but if you're like, you have to turn this 1,000 into 100,000 or 10,000 into 100,000, what would you invest in right now, and how would you manage it over the next couple of years?
So I'm going to give you kind of a longer answer than maybe you were hoping for on this one.
Give it to me.
I'm going to start by telling you what you should not do.
Okay.
Because the first time I remember, I had $1,000 extra on my bank account. I was in high school. And what I did with that is I took the $1,000 and I went out and I bought a watch.
Don't do that.
Yeah, and this watch was very studded up. It was all crystals, and I was like, ooh, it's a nice watch.
Clean.
So what happened with what happened with that watch? Well, I made that watch company richer. I made the jewelry store owner richer, and now that $1,000 watch today is worth maybe $50. Right? It was just a show. So my value of my investment dropped like a rock. But now these companies made money, which now they could take that and invest in more products, more inventory, more marketing, more whatever. So the first thing is you got to understand that you want to put it in something that's gonna help make you more money. So I'll give you my personal experience, because I saw the biggest returns by investing in me, but that will be more of an active investment. And then you have the opportunity for a passive investment, which is why it's a longer answer than what you were probably hoping for, but I'll try to get to all the answers there. So I feel like everybody who, especially if you had the entrepreneurial mindset, you go through these phases where you first go through this like, I'm a hustler, side hustler phase, and then maybe you become like a solopreneur, and then you become an entrepreneur, and then you become a small business owner, and then you kind of go to that business owner route. So you kind of go through these phases, because initially, when I first started as a side hustler, I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. I was just trying to make some money.
Trying to make some cash on the side.
Exactly. You're just starting off. For me, I started off in the event planning space. So I was in college. I started hosting teen parties for other kids in college. And I didn't really have any money to spend. I was 17 years old when I started. So I was like making very not attractive deals to me, but it was the only way I could get started. Because what I did was I would go to venues to host a party, and I wanted a venue that wouldn't charge me any money up front. And in exchange, they would say, just give us 50% of every dollar that you earn. So if I made $1,000 in revenue from cover charge, right, $10 to come in, I give the venue, the club, whatever, $10 or $500. And then I didn't have money for a DJ.
Right.
So I said, look, DJ, I need someone to play music. Let's work out a deal. They took 50% of what I was left with.
Oh, man.
So I would give them, left for 500. They would take 250. Now, luckily, the business was able to grow where, we were making on the low end a couple grand a night. And then what was I able to? I was able to negotiate better deals. And then I was able to start investing my money into marketing. So I started taking some money, and I remember the first thing that we did was I started investing my money into flyers. It was $100 at the time to print 5,000 small flyers. And so I got creative, and I was like, look, before the event, we need to distribute all 5,000 flyers. We cannot have them in our possession anymore. And I can't do this myself, so I need salespeople essentially. But I don't want to pay for salespeople.
Street team interns, college students. Yeah.
So what do? I'll give you VIP entry into the party, which doesn't cost me a penny, and I will give you a shout out at the party. Doesn't cost me anything. Makes you feel cool, makes you feel exclusive. You get to walk past the line. You have this lanyard that says you're this, VIP, whatever. And so now I have people at some of the biggest colleges in my area passing out flyers, trying to get everybody to come, because now you want to be one of those people. So I got these free salespeople that are trying to promote it.
Smart.
And you have to be creative. And that now starts to multiply the money. And that's when I realized that I'm just a side hustler. I will never be able to build a business like this. I don't want to build a business like this because it was a very dirty industry, which is why I got out of it. I did not like the scene. So I left that and started kind of going down more the entrepreneurship route, not going more into innovation. So I started a sock company. So now I'm starting to invest money, my own dollars, into the sock company. That way now I can build a product, build inventory, build a website, build advertising, build marketing. And now I'm able to grow this much faster because now I have some skills that I learned from my mistakes, because I screwed up a lot. My first event was a complete flop. I had some very bad failures. I had lost money on some occasions. It was, when you deal with club owners, you're dealing with very interesting people, and you learn very quickly, right? I'm a 17-year-old going up to some of these club owners trying to figure out the game, and
they're taking advantage
of you. And it's also dangerous. I remember one time I went to a club to talk to the manager because we had a party the next week, and I said, "Where's the manager?" He said, "Oh, we got stabbed last night."
Oh man.
And so, you learn very quickly to protect yourself, to protect your own interests. I mean, you're literally, I mean, there was a lot of physical stuff that happened. I mean, I was the bouncer in a lot of it. So you learn to protect yourself physically,
Sure.
learn to protect yourself mentally, you learn to protect yourself financially. So I had to learn very quickly. And so now I take the things that I learned. I'm in a much safer, much smoother, much cleaner industry, the sock industry, but I start to learn and I start to apply some of the same marketing. How can I be creative in the marketing? How can I get people to learn? And you can't learn this in a textbook. You just have to try, be willing to fail. And so same thing there. Now I kind of go into the entrepreneurship route, and now I'm starting to learn and I start to sell. And then I realize my passion isn't in socks. I like the socks, I like the business idea, but my passion isn't there. My passion is more on the financial side. So now I was also doing Minority Mindset as a hobby. Minority Mindset starts to grow, and then I start to build things like Market Briefs, which is our financial newsletter. So now I'm building Market Briefs, and now I'm turning more into like from the entrepreneur to the small business side. Because in Market Briefs, I am not the only worker, right? On the Minority Mindset channel, it's my face, it's me talking, and it's we have video editors and all that, but it's mainly me. If I'm not working in Minority Mindset, we're not making any more content and it's not growing, which is okay, right? It's not for me like as my business. For me, it's my way of helping to pursue my passion and my mission to help spread the sort of financial education, the things that I was never taught.
Yeah.
But my business now, Market Briefs, we have a whole team, right? We have people that lead the creative side, that write the newsletter every day. We have the business development team. We have the operations people. So we have a full team that are doing it. And if I were to not go into work tomorrow, or if something were to happen to me, the business will continue without me.
Right.
And so, it's a matter of flipping that money into the next thing, to the next, and being willing to invest the time, the education. So for me, it took me a solid decade. So I don't have a better, in 3 years, I couldn't figure out how to do it. It took me a long time to figure it out. And
maybe you could do it now.
Now it's
turn 1,000 into 100,000.
I could do it in significantly faster than a year.
I think one of the things is that I'm hearing you say is, invest that 1,000 into a skill. Invest it into a skill.
You will get the best return.
And put it into, that could be, okay, I'm going to buy a camera and for the next 2 years master becoming great at using the camera, whether it be video or photography, and then start working with clients and making some side income, and then using that money to reinvest in more equipment.
Exactly.
Using that money to maybe have someone else help me to scale my side business.
Yeah.
And then have that cash to invest in other things as well. It's like, and then develop new skills, and new skill, and new skill.
And it takes that mindset though, and the willingness to take risk, because, I would also caution that, because you have to be willing to just try. When I started Minority Mindset, I didn't have a camera. I didn't have any fancy equipment. I started recording videos off of my phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to invest so much money into this when I'm trying to, it's a hobby for me.
Yeah. See where it goes.
See where it goes. And but I did take an acting class. I was in law school. So I was in law school part-time. I was working on my business full-time. And then I took an acting class in the evenings, night school, because I was like, I've never talked in front of a camera before. I'm not even a good public speaker. I don't know how to present myself. I don't even know how to hit the on button on the camera. How am I supposed to do this? So I took an acting class because I was like, well, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to try. So you have to be willing to get uncomfortable, and you have to be willing to take that risk. And this is I don't know if this is gonna offend people, or I'm gonna say a bad word, but the reason why I think I've been able to become successful is because I'm stupid. My whole life, I've been told,
me and you both, man.
I've been told, Jaspreet, you're stupid. Jaspreet, you're stupid. Why would you want to do that? And you know what? That's the reason why I am where I am today, is because I'm stupid. Because I'm willing to, I never looked at the risk. And you call it stupidity, but for me, I just saw the opportunity as I know I want to achieve something bigger, because I saw how hard my parents had it. I saw how hard my grandparents had it. My grandparents were refugees.
Yeah.
They lost their homes. They lost everything. They had to fight for their lives. And so I saw the things that my family had to go through. My grandparents raised me. They lived with me. So I lived with my grandparents and my parents. So I heard their stories, talked about the struggles, and that was where I started to get my basis of financial education. Because my grandfather would tell me, and he actually repeated this to me a couple of weeks ago when I was on the phone with him, and he was like, the biggest and worst disease is poorness. Because he said, I grew up and I saw extreme poverty. So my family's from a state in India called Punjab.
Yep.
And in 1947, our home, the state of Punjab, was severed by the government. And if you were a Sikh, a member of the religion that I am, and you're on the west side of Punjab, you had to migrate east, otherwise you were going to be killed. So my grandparents were on the west side, and you literally had to like run. Like my grandfather, all he had was a clothes on his back and a sword in his hand. And as they were coming across, they got attacked by a mob. And he saw his uncle get his head chopped open right in front of him.
No way.
They had a fight. And so he put his uncle on a horse, and that was the end. And
Holy cow.
He got to the new side of India now, and he's there. He lost his shoes on the way. He has no home, no money, no anything. And so he says, I saw extreme poorness. And when you're in that level of poorness, forget helping other people. You can't even feed yourself. How can you feed your family? If you can't feed your family, you can't feed another hungry person. And so that's what he talks about. What he, and that's what my initial the importance of, because again, like they didn't know investing, they didn't know financial education. What he knew was survival. And what he would tell me is work hard, follow the system, and become successful. And that's why I wanted to become successful, because I saw that. Now I didn't know the right way to do it at the time, but that's what we're all taught, right? We're all taught, go to school, get good grades, get a good job. But there's so much more to it that we're never taught. But that's where my initial, I need to become successful, I need to work hard, was from that learning that basic kind of need.
I'm curious, this is something I don't think many people talk about, or I don't hear people talk about, the emotional side around money and the fear and emotions that are tied to money when you say, okay, here's a couple $1,000s that I have in my bank account, I'm gonna invest some of this. And then you see it in the stock market crash or go down, or you lose half of it in a week. How does someone manage the emotions in the visceral response to when their money goes up and also goes down in an investment?
So you have to know your strategy, and you have to be willing to stick to the strategy and trust your strategy. So that means when times are good, you need to spend your time learning, get educated, and believe your strategy. Because if you just start switching your strategy in the middle of times, you are going to be the one paying the price. The stock market is a place that transfers money from the patient to the impatient. And so if you are impatient because you're like, oh, things are going wrong temporarily, and you sell, what happens? Someone else can pick up your investment at a discounted price. So that's the first thing that you have to understand. So you have to understand the strategy and be willing to stick with it and make sure that it's been time tested. And again, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And you can see the success of certain strategies through previous downward cycles. Downward cycles happen. It's a fact. I mean, every 8 to 12 years, we see some sort of economic slowdown. We see some sort of market crash. This is nothing new. This is why for successful investors, they love recessions. They love market crashes because it gives them an opportunity to come and buy. It's like Black Friday, right, for investors. So the first thing you have to understand is that. And then that will help you kind of just close your eyes. Remember, these are just day-to-day swings. You only lose money if you sell or if your investment goes bankrupt. So you want to make sure it's not going bankrupt and then understand that. But then on the flip side, you talk about the actual emotions. I'll tell you, it was difficult, because I had very high expectations on me to go out and become a professional. I became an attorney because essentially the conversation was, if you do not become a doctor, then you're going to lose all pride in the family. So at least become an attorney. And it was difficult.
Second best.
Yeah, exactly. And
if you're not that, you're a failure.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was tough. And, for me, I was like, okay, well, I can go to law school part-time, which means I can work on my business full-time. However, I wasn't the best student in law school. And the reason was because I was devoting a lot of my time and energy into the business. Now, I did good in law school. I'm not good. I actually did really well in the bar exam. I enjoyed learning. I love learning. But I knew that in the back of my mind, oh my God, if I graduate law school and things don't work, I don't know how I'm going to work as an attorney. I'm going to be like the bottom of the barrel. I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't know the traditional how to work as an attorney. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I don't know what I would do. And so I remember I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, when I'm done with law school, it's over. I was already making decent money. So I was fortunate there, but I was like, what if this is just temporary? What if things go down and I don't have any security and that's it? And I would have so much anxiety. I couldn't sleep at night. I would wake up in the middle of the night multiple times and I would be shaking. And I was like, what if not only am I gonna financially not be able to take care of myself, how am I gonna take care of my parents? How am I gonna take care of my family? What am I gonna tell people? What am I gonna do? And just the amount of questions it is hard. And that's, the faith in you, be willing to take that risk tolerance is hard. And I was fortunate that I have tough skin. And I think the reason why is because, my whole life I was bullied. I look different. I wear a turban. I have a beard. When I was in elementary school, I was picked on because of it. Then we went through 9/11 when I was, young. And then just a bunch of...
How old are you in 9/11?
I was maybe 10 years old. So right around 10.
And is the tradition, do the youth dress in this way as well? Or is it more once you're of a certain age?
So I wore a smaller turban.
Okay.
And, it's still very identifiable.
Right.
I was picked on before that.
How old were you then when 9/11?
Around 10.
So what was that like for you?
So I went to a school with all white people. And so people they were not accustomed to other religions and cultures.
Races and everything.
Yeah, and so when 9/11 happened, everything just went, it was really bad, where I was like picked on, bullied, I was punched, had my stuff thrown on the ground, I was spit on.
Wow.
There was times I had my turban ripped off. It was pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty...
At 10?
At 10. I went through, it was 10, 11, 12. It went on for years.
For
it wasn't
years, because 9/11 was 5-10 years of...
Yeah, it was a lot.
This energy, yeah.
And, it was just one of those things where I would come home and, again, it was my grandparents. And my grandfather, he was a very tough person, right? He went through a lot, and he ended up joining the army. He was you gotta stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was a really timid young kid. I was like, I don't know. And then my grandma was this loving person who said, no, it's okay. Give me a kiss and hug. Say, no, you never want to fight. Just, just teach them about them. So I had like these two kind of polar opposites. And I think that was great because that helped me see both sides and become more of like understanding different opinions. But, when you go through that and you realize that, I'm not accepted, or you feel that way, when you want to become an entrepreneur, you don't get accepted.
Right.
And it translates differently, where now it's like, I don't like your business idea. You're dumb for doing that. You must be stupid for doing that. Who's going to start a sock business? You were supposed to become a doctor. That was the saying that I heard so many times. People will call my parents and say, so your son is supposed to be a doctor. Now he's selling socks. And it was like, you got to have some tough skin, man, to be able to hear that and keep going. And I was fortunate to be able to go through that and let that make me stronger. Where now it's like, it is what it is. I'm going to keep doing me. And it's like, it goes back to hey, I'm stupid. It is. I'm going to keep doing it because I believe in it. People don't see what I see, but I'm going to go for it.
Going along with that, what would you say if you saw someone now, say they're 20 or maybe they're 30 or whatever age, doesn't matter, but they don't have a lot of money right now. Let's say they're just making a normal amount of money, right?
Yeah.
But they have certain habits and behaviors and beliefs and thought processes that you witness. And you could say, wow, if you follow these things, you have the ability to make a lot of money one day. What would be those behaviors or habits that would determine if someone has the ability to be rich?
So the first thing is mindset. That's what I call, my channel, the minority mindset. You have to believe it's possible for you. Because if you don't believe it's possible for you, you can have all the resources, you can have all the drive, but you'll never be able to do it because your mind is going to stop you. Your mind dictates your actions. And so you first have to believe that somebody like you can do it from your position and know that, hey, I will do whatever it takes. Now, if you have the mindset, then you have that I will do whatever it takes, that discipline, and then the willing to learn, nothing can stop you. So the discipline means that you're willing to put in work. A lot of people say, don't work hard, work smart. And I think this is a whole bunch of crap. Like you can work as smart as you want, but if you're not willing to work hard, you're going to very much limit your success and limit everything in your life. You have to be willing to work hard.
I don't know anyone that didn't put in a lot of hard work for a period of time until they learned how to manage and delegate and optimize with resources and skill and time to work smarter.
100%.
But they had to work hard at some
in order
point.
to get there. Once you get there, now you can scale back and now you can reap the fruits of your labor, but you have to be willing to put in the work. The harder you work,
you got to make the flywheel turn.
You got to. And if it, your hard work makes your smart work even more effective.
Key.
And then your discipline then it's just like anything else. It's being willing to stick with it when things go wrong and when things get hard, because things will go wrong. Things will get hard. I made a video on my YouTube channel talking about my worst real estate deal ever. I have this running joke with my friends that anytime I start something new, I get scammed and I get screwed over. And it is extremely difficult every time it happens because from the event planning business, I got screwed over multiple times. And then the beginning, it was just a complete flop. I mean, it just everything went wrong that could potentially go. I was supposed to host my party at a venue, planned it for months. The night before the event, it got shut down by the cops because they were apparently serving to underage people. It just lost.
Oh, man.
And this is my first event, and everything just goes wrong. Then, I started my sock company. I got scammed by a fake marketing company as soon as I started, which is why I started Minority Mindset. When I started, I started for a little bit. I was trying to hustle, and I was selling stuff on eBay and Amazon. Me and my buddy, we found this supplier in China who was sending us authentic items that we were going to sell online. We were young, and we were selling it. We were making decent money. And then we get a letter saying, you're not selling authentic stuff. We will potentially sue you for $7 million.
Oh, man, that's
I'm not even 20 years old. I don't even, $7 million, I can't even count that many digits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and I had to shut that down. So it gets tough.
Yes.
You talked about last time, getting punched in the mouth. You have to be willing to get back up. And, how do you prepare for that? Maybe go and get punched. Go to a boxing class. Get uncomfortable. Do something that puts you out of your comfort zone, even if it's not directly correlated. I try to do that. I've joined a boxing gym here in California. I'm not the best boxer, just to get in shape, but you get uncomfortable. I joined my acting class. That was really uncomfortable for me because I'm like this kind of nerd. I went to school. I was supposed to study hard in school and do all this stuff, and now here I am trying to figure things out. I didn't fit in, but I made friends. Everybody's so friendly, and you get to meet more people, and you put yourself out of that comfort zone, and I think that will help you in other places as well. So it's not always finance. We talk about this where we live a human life, right? It's not just my bank account. It's I'm a human first. My bank account is one aspect of my life,
right?
And you have to be able to live as a human. That way you can actually enjoy your bank account.
Absolutely, man.
Right? I mean, you can have $1 million, $10 million. If you're miserable, who cares?
Exactly. So you talked about the right mindset, the right discipline. The third thing was?
The right mindset, the right discipline, and the right work ethic. So the willingness to learn. You have to be willing to learn. And if you're not willing to learn, you're not going to be willing to grow because you have to be willing to challenge your beliefs. And I think that became significantly easier for me once I started learning about money, because I realized everything I was told was wrong about money, from loans to banks to schools to your job to investing. When I realized that everything that I was told was wrong, that's when I was like, man, I don't think I know anything right. So it was very easy for me to start learning and listening to contradictory points of view. But you really have to be willing to listen to things that don't agree with one another, and that's in the middle is where you find intellect. That's where you find where your best education comes. And so, if you listen, I listen to audiobooks. I'm not a very good reader. English is my second language, right? So I'm not the best reader, but I listen to audiobooks, and it's funny because I have books that will completely contradict one another, just so I can learn from different points of view. I read Donald Trump's book. And then I read Barack Obama's book. I read the Communist Manifesto. I read the Capitalist Manifesto.
Right.
You read books that are completely opposite. That way you can explore different points of view and understand and solidify your thoughts and just be more educated. Because
otherwise, if we grow up with just one belief the entire time and we don't see another side of something or another extreme potentially, then we're always going to think life is that specific way, as opposed to being open to seeing what other people think about, whether we agree with it or not. Just learn it.
And it's so much more important now because of social media.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know you know this, but you go on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, anything. If you start watching one type of content, what are they going to do? They're going to feed you more and more of that exact same thing. And then all of a sudden you go down this rabbit hole where you think everybody thinks like you. Anybody who doesn't think like you is wrong. They must be dumb. They have no idea what they're talking about. But you have to. I mean, it's so much harder now, which is why it's so much more important. But you have to be willing to break out of this hole and start learning something else, and be willing to challenge your own beliefs. And that's where you will become smarter, and you'll find more opportunity.